And without further ado, let's introduce these gladiators spawning down here in the bottom left side of Oxide to start things off. Give it up for Time. And his opponent, hanging out in the top right, he is Rogue. Coming directly from the Brawlers Club number 14. These guys are on an absolute tear, not just in this season, but in previous seasons as well. Time really showing up for the games we've seen him in. He has really gone up toe-to-toe with some really fantastic players, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do against possibly the best Zerg in existence in Rogue. Rogue as well. He's just been on top for such a long time. I don't think at any point he's going to be looking up at any player. He's always going to be looking down from his first place pedestal at his opponents. And we'll have to see what he's going to be doing against this Terran player. So far, we do see nothing too crazy going to be starting this series out, as we do have Rogue just getting that hatch first, and a Reaper fast expand from Time. So these guys, I don't think they're going to show too much too early here, but as I say that, Time drops down his second Rax. So there's a couple of different ways he can go with this now. He can either go straight up to the 3 Rax and just try and push in Rogue very, very quickly, or we're going to see a considerable amount of effort being put into a 2-1-1. Now with a 2-1-1, it's not the first push that kills the Zerg player, it's the considerable amount of follow-up that really does him in, because as a Zerg player, it can be a little bit difficult to kind of keep up economically with an aggressive Terran player. Now we do see the Reaper kind of be hanging out here, but Rogue does have 6 Lings, so that will be able to be pushed away. And Time will have to settle for confirmation of that third base, as... oh, actually, I thought he would have to get out of there before speed finishes, but a little bit later on that speed timing here, so that Rogue could push out a little bit extra economy. So this Reaper has a little bit more longevity here for a little bit. As back at home, Time is just powering up. He's got his stim started. He's got his factory down. We should be seeing the starport come relatively soon. And yeah, we'll just have to wait for his push. Hopefully Rogue can get out a nice defense against it. So far, no real scouting effort from Rogue here. We do see that one Overlord kind of hanging out in reserve, but unfortunately that does mean that he's going to be pretty in the dark about when this attack comes in. I think the easiest way to kind of deal with the 2-1-1 is obviously in the preparation. If you get a Baneling Nest down, if you get about 30 to 40 Lings, and then also pump out a ton of Queens like he's doing right now, that's going to be the best way to kind of shut down that early aggression. And since your opponent expends so much to make it work, then you can really put them off guard, and then you get full map control as the Zerg player very early on. Now you can also see one thing here. Time is not all in with this move. He does have his third base coming on down, but here we go. The push is going to start. As he loads up the Marines, they're going to go right into vision. No, actually threading the needle pretty well here. Rogue moved his Overlord, so he still has no idea this is here. Then again, he does pretty much have a Suburban Book Club ready to go back at home. First Overlord will go down. Some of that creep getting cleared up. Always a nice little start, but I actually think there's enough Queens here that he's not going to really be too worried about this. Now you can also see Time being very passive here. He is just kind of being very cautious about where he decides to move in here. 1 KD8 charge to kind of bring them off guard here. But he is just going to settle for the Creep Tumors for right now. I think if he brings a follow-up here, a little bit more of a push with some splash into Widow Mines, he should be able to kind of push in a little bit further. But we will have to see. Because as the seconds roll by here, there's more Lings. There's a Baneling Nest. Lair is about halfway complete, so Rogue is just going to be able to shut this down. But the Queen's getting caught out. Good transfuses. Gonna save most of them. In fact, all of them right now, as the surround is good. Medevac does survive for a time being, but he's gonna try and get a little damage done in the main. So far, though, that was a little bit costly here, losing one of those medevacs, so he will have to leave a couple of these Marines behind. So far, Rogue just looking very solid with his defense, not really losing anything here other than a couple of Lings, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, they're pretty expendable at this point. Time, though, is not going to let up. He does have that attack ready to roll into the main base at any point. Unfortunately, though, his siege tank here might get caught out. Might just need to lift that up, and he will be able to save just a little bit here. But that is going to slow down any sort of aggression he's going for. The Queen's going to try and get the medevacs, but they will be able to escape. The littling that could. So a little bit of a run by here. Not really going to get too much done, but it does kind of delay mining on that third base for a little bit here, as Time is contending with a fourth base on his opponent's side. So it's going to be really important to get those mules dropped and kind of try and keep up. If we take a look at the income tab, and especially, you can kind of see this is where he drops the mules, and down here at the bottom is every other time. No pun intended. Nice little pick off there. Unfortunately, we'll lose a medevac for it, so it just lost its value. But now we do see Rogue getting ready for the late game. He's got his infestation pit ready to roll, and should be seeing the hive start immediately after. There we go. 2 macro hatches in the main base. I swear, at this point, it's going to be really difficult for Time to kind of break through. He might not want to do these small attacks anymore. As we can see, he's not attacking with his entire army, because at this point, there's just enough Lings to cover multiple locations. I do like that he is still trying to clear up the creep, though, as that will give him a little bit of room to breathe in terms of his next attack. Yeah, it looks like back at home, he's just going to try and turtle up a little bit to try and stay safe versus a explosion of Zerg. Alright, does lose some of those Marines here, a couple of Banelings going off, so always good little trades here. I think at this point, those do favor Rogue a bit more. But there we go. We see the next big transition as Rogue is starting to kind of get close to maxing out. We've got the Lurker Den coming on in. He's got Adrenal Glands, his +2 attack. And actually, one thing I'm just now noticing is that Time is only on +1 right now, so he is having a huge issue in those upgrades. He is not taking effective fights right now with his units. I think this drone wanted to apply to be a Ling, but does get rejected, so it will be sent over to the Hatch Brigade. Now we see time. He's still trying to push out a little bit here just to clear up some of that creep, but now Rogue is pushed so far forward that the Queens can just be right on top of it to respread. Unfortunately, now it's kind of a little bit like a noose here for time. While he's kind of turtling up a bit with a majority of his forces, he's just not really able to get out onto the map at all right now. But luckily, those upgrades are starting to catch up a bit. +2 did finish out. Small skirmishes in the front. Just trying to slow down, I guess, Rogue. Just try and make sure that he can't really attack super efficiently. But this is a nice little move here. Rogue has full view of it, however. Enough Queens and a Spine to shut this down. So unfortunately for time, that does mean that that is a large chunk of his supply. Just kind of absolutely worthless right here. And that's really going to start hurting here because now he doesn't really have a lot at home. The Marauders do stim in, but while he will get one, I think this one might just barely get denied. A huge Baneling connection right there, however, is going to shut down that drop. So now we see time. He's got up to Ghost. He's got some Marauders to tank some of those Baneling hits. But overall, he's just not really been able to touch the economy here. Parasitic Bomb finishing the shutdown, as that guy is not going to be getting anything done. I know he could be a Rambo, but no, not in this game. Not on this planet and not in this universe. Alright, so far so good here. Rogue not really being able to find too much with this, however. Will manage to get in and soften some of those up. But now the Nidus Swarm does manage to get down. The Lurkers have burrowed in the main base. Might actually lose a good majority of them as the Liberators do go down. Yeah, he's actually going to lose quite a few of these. He does get 4 SCVs, but I mean, for the amount of Lurkers he's lost, probably not the best. Oh, that Changeling is really nice, however. Rogue just seriously trying, not necessarily Hail Marys here, since he is, I believe, ahead. But, like, he is just kind of keeping time back at home. He's forcing him to play defensively, and that's not really where time wants to be at this point in the game. Rocks are now broken down, so that is just another avenue for Rogue to push in through. Here we go, another Nidus Worm going down in the main base. Those Changelings paying for themselves in gold. Another small little run by here. We'll be able to get a couple of siege tanks. In fact, 3 of them will go down, maybe a 4th. Adrenal Gland Lings are just absolutely devastating his army right now. And he still has those burrowed Lings ready to go as soon as the army moves out. I gotta say, at this point, I don't think time is necessarily falling apart, but he is really being task saturated here immensely. This Nidus Swarm will go down, but there's nothing inside of it, however, so that's got to be a little bit of a relief for time. As we do see Rogue trying to rotate around, heading towards the 5th base. It is a planetary, so it should be able to hold on for a little bit here, but without any sort of repair, Rogue should be able to get a kill here. In fact, just going to dive on top of it. And there you go. Blinding Clouds all over those ghosts. The snipes trying to go off, but they're not really going to be good. 8 SCVs going down. Rogue has taken the bottom right expansion. And I mean, I get what time is going for. He's trying to go for the kind of Maru-esque defensive a holdout here until Rogue runs out of money. But at this point, he's just getting squeezed the life out of him. More workers going down. A littling run by will be deflected, but it's really just more of a distraction than anything. He is still adding on tons of ghosts here, and if we kind of take a look at the units lost here, it's actually not that bad. I was expecting a little bit more lost from Rogue, but he's being very cost efficient right now as the Banelings loading their way in. The Widow Mines don't get a chance to burrow. He is just losing so much here. 25 more workers going down. He has lost the base again, and that supply has plummeted for time. Now Rogue, he can't rest on his laurels here. He's going back up. 11 more Hydras, 17 more Bangs. He is completely maxed out once again, and he should start mining at that bottom base. Look at that bank as well. Almost 4,000 minerals and 1,000 gas ready to roll. So he can trade this army at least one more time before... No pun intended. Alright, nice little pick off there from time. He will kind of deny that for right now. Some lurkers do get to burrow over here, but they're not going to be in range of that base just yet. Couple of snipes. Not too bad. That should deny some of that creep if he can get rid of those queens, as it is getting a little bit too close for comfort. Lurker's going to shut down mining on the third base, however. And that is going to prompt Rogue to say he can go, might want to go in again and attack. But I gotta say, Rogue is being very patient right now. He does not want to throw anything away. Looks like he did lose another Overlord, so he's going to have to remake that, as he is a little bit supply blocked at max. Here we go, rotating once again towards that fifth base. Liberators and Widowmines are in position. A nice connection on the first couple, but that Liberator is not too long for this world. The flank from the bottom side as well. Not really getting to do too much here, as a good concave from time at the top of the ramp actually will shut that down quite handily here. And with that one move, he's going to be able to get a kill on this base. Wow. That was an absolutely fantastic engagement from time right there. He is actually very close in terms of that supply now, as Rogue has to remake those lurkers. He's going to try and attack in here with just the lings. The time can just get out of there with a majority of his units. Now, he's not out of the woodworks yet, but I think he has been given plenty of opportunity here to kind of pull it back, as this game has equalized quite nicely here for our Chinese Terran. Here we go. Rogue once again going to work his way in here. The snipes are pretty good. The Banelings, though, going to buffer for the lurkers. Time has pulled back with a majority of his ghosts, so these Banelings not going to get the best of connections. At the end of the day, they will start to rain hellfire on these lurkers in the front. He will get rid of quite a few of them. But now Rogue is looking to retake his advantage in this game. Got to be careful, though. He's losing quite a bit of his army right here, and that bank is starting to run dry. Yeah, actually just losing all the lurkers right there. How many does he have left? He has 0 left. So yeah, now he is completely broke in terms of that gas. He is almost out of minerals here. This is going to be his last big attack in. I gotta say, I was not very on board with the turtling of time here, but it seems to have worked out for him. Just in terms of kind of taking Rogue off his guard. Liberator's going to shut down a lot of mining over here, so that space is pretty much worthless. But here we go, the Lurkers right on top of everything. The Ghosts do manage to get a couple snipes off, but it's this little counter flank keeping time off his third base, keeping the reinforcements away from each other. That is really doing the most damage here for Rogue. Trying to break down the wall as well. He might get in, but he won't really get too much further. Time is just going to retaliate here with a big counterattack. Pretty much the majority of his army as he drops below 100 supply. A valiant effort from our Red Terran friend here. At the end of the day, will it be enough to Hydras finishing off the last of the Ghosts? Time is pretty much just stuck with Marine Siege Tank here, and that will be it. GG is called. And kind of coming back into it, not too much going on here. Looks like it's another normal start here, but we're going to have to see if Time does decide to be a little bit more aggressive. He had the right idea with the 2-1-1, but the 2-1-1 really needs you to get rid of a lot more lings, a lot more pressure than he was really able to put on. Looks like we got a spawning pool going on down. I would be really, really weirded out if we didn't see one of those in a TVZ. Now this. Okay, it's just an SCV scout. I forgot how late into the game we were, so it's not going to be for any sort of proxy plays here. But it does get the scout, just confirming that that hatch is indeed down, so he will be able to send the Reaper across the map without anything kind of backstabbing him. Yeah, from here, it looks like Time is just going to switch back into Hellion style. I completely agree with that. This map kind of plays a little bit more into Hellions, since there's a lot of avenues you can kind of jump around in. As the Reaper does come in, but there's enough lings here. Rogue really shouldn't lose any. He's got some good micro so far. And indeed, he will survive. Time being very greedy here, getting at that third CC at the 2.5 minute mark. So if Rogue gets no scout off, which by the way, once again, he's kind of avoiding the scouting. If he's able to get that saturated, he will be able to get this natural, nice and cleanly, and then he will be able to kind of just explode in terms of that economy, being equal on bases with Rogue. And that is never a position you want to be in as the Zerg player. You always want to be up a base. Time looking for an angle to go in and get a little bit more information, but so far this is pretty good from Rogue, just kind of keeping him away from the natural. Rotating around, looking for an opening, but so far, there's no drones here, so nothing to be killed. Honestly, overall, still a relatively clean game. As Rogue tries to make his first way in, he won't really find too much for him. Now, the Banshee follow-up is pretty nice here, but it's not going to be any sort of like aggressive push out farm time, since he has cut Hellion production. But that was an absolutely beautiful scout here from Rogue. Now he knows that he has to get a Spore Crawler in each base to deal with these two Banshees, as time kind of just powering up for his next stage. And that's kind of the thing about Terran aggression. You always have to have your next attack ready to go. So by the time these Hellions kind of start to get cleaned up, you want to have that next attack ready in the backfield. And in fact, I think he's keeping these Hellions alive just so that he can augment his first big attack, make it a little bit more powerful against Rogue. Only just now starting a lair as well is Rogue. No Banshees either. What that will allow him to do is have some faster upgrades here. Transfuses will save the Queen. Looks like the Hellions tried to go in and dive in, but they will get deflected for right now. Banshees will be able to find a nice little spot to get some damage in. It's not as much as he'd like, but honestly, any damage is good damage here. And honestly, it's a lot more damage than he did in game number 1. So a total of 5 workers going down. The Hellions do go home to repair. And the upgrade starting to kick in. The Baneling Nest comes on down. I can see the attack coming as these guys are on equal supply. But it's all a matter of who decides to pull the trigger first. I think the answer to that is going to be time. One thing I've noticed, however, is he still doesn't have his armory coming on in, which means that he might be a little bit delayed on getting those +2 upgrades if he's not careful. Are going to make their way in. A good split from Rogue, going to keep his Lings alive, and that will just prompt time to get on out of there. You know, one thing I would have kind of like to see is those Hellions kind of positioning themselves for another attack. Yeah, just keeping this as another little threat. I think attacking from multiple fronts at this point, when Rogue doesn't really have a huge army. Just take a look at this. He's only got 33 Lings. This is probably his best option. Here we go. He's going to make his way in. He's going to keep them as Hellions, however, so that they can escape. He does lose a few of his units there. Rogue able to deflect that before it gets anything done. But that is going to open up a lot of creep tumors to be killed. Time going to trade out for just a second there before lifting up. Banshees do make their way in, but they have been forgotten. One of them will go down. And overall, Time is making some headway, but at the same time, Rogue is just doing a really good job of keeping this deflected. I like this, however. He does manage to find his way in. As the splits are pretty good. One of the Queens will go down. Transfuser's keeping him alive, however. Time on the retreat. As his second attack, a little bit late to the party. So it's not going to get as much done as it could have, but it does manage to kill some of those drones. As we see a huge Meta Ball heading straight for the main base. So Time going to get the kill there. Not that many reinforcements here to deal with this in his main base, however. Looks like he found a pretty good angle to attack into, trading out very efficiently versus those Lings. The Banshee actually going to get the Baneling Nest as well. So a very nice pickup, but he's still got to get rid of these mutas. And actually a little bit of a mistake there from Rogue. It loses 3 a little bit needlessly. All things considered, Wildtime did take a lot of damage. I think he's actually a little bit ahead here. Baneling production is going to be halted for the time being, so if he attacks in, there's not going to be any splash damage to contend with. And the mutas, while fearsome, if you just take some of these Marines and keep them at home, I think he should be okay, as Rogue looking for another big counterattack. As time moving his way in. Looks like we might have a little bit of a base trade situation here as the Thor does get lifted up. Hotboxing the mutas so that they don't all take damage. And yeah, just a good old-fashioned small-timey base trade coming on in. The SimCity is really good for time here, I've got to say. It is really minimizing the amount of surface area those Lings can contest. Time does have to be a little bit careful here. The splits are great, however, so he's not going to take too much damage. Supplies below 100 for both sides. Looks like the Mutaball is starting to get taken down. The Marines starting to run low on health. They don't have much heals left to go. At the end of the day, yeah, Time just has a little bit more. He still has his third base. His fourth, while not completely saturated, was still there, and Rogue was running on fumes. In the top, or bottom right position of Blackburn, you can see some SCVs going out for a little bit of a stroll. He is Time. And his opponent, hanging out in the bottom left. He's got to see this coming. Give it up for Rogue. So yeah, now Rogue knows exactly what's coming his way. As that Overlord getting a perfect scout off on that SCV. He's just looking for it now, but he might not actually send it in the right direction to see it. But nevertheless, it looks like he's just going to stick with his regular game plan here. Get that hatchery down, but he's really going to have to get that spawning pool very, very quickly. Keep in mind that this is not an all-in play here from Time. While this is very concerted in the early game, it is something that you can macro your way out of. If you drop the factory here before the Lings get into your base, you can do just fine. And it looks like that's actually going to be the plan, as while he is mining gas, he's just going straight for 2 racks Marine. Rogue has pulled the drones to deal with this, but 2 Marines, if kited properly, should be able to do quite a bit. Looks like Rogue just going to go for the surround and will manage to get it. So far, only losing 2 drones, but he has shut down the Rush 4 right now. Bunker getting dangerously close to finishing. It looks like he's not even going to bother to focus that down, as he is just trying to make sure that nothing can go into it in the first place. Now the Lings, they are still slow, but they should be enough here. A little bit of a miss micro there will mean the death of these Marines. While that second bunker will finish, there's just nothing to put into them. And it's Time doing what he can to kind of salvage the situation, waiting for his factory to go up. Got his own CC coming on the way, but now Rogue is ahead in a lot of different ways here. As now that he's deflected that, he has a lot of time where he can just drone up quite heavily before time is really able to establish himself. Reaper just trying to look for an angle, not really going to be able to find any. As Rogue just making his way in. I'm probably going to look for a scout here. Did he cancel that Hellion is the big question. He did. And with the extra income, he does drop down an extra CC so that he can try and kind of catch up with Rogue in terms of that economy. Look at that, even going to get the anti-Overlord scout, a Viking here. Although it will be a little bit late as this Overlord does get pretty much a full scout and sees what time is doing, sees how greedy he is being, and that's going to tell Rogue, okay, I can be aggressive or I can be super greedy behind it. Looks like the answer is he's going to be super aggressive behind it, as we do have the Roach Warren going on down. A little bit worried for time here. Doesn't really have a lot that deals with roaches. Really much to say about this point. It's just kind of a slow build up and power up here from both sides, as Rogue getting his first roaches out. A little bit of damage in the main base, but he will be able to clean up a majority of those Hellions, so definitely not a worthwhile trade for time. I don't know if I don't think there were any roaches in there, so I don't know if it was revealed that there's roaches, but we do see time kind of going for semi anti-blind counter here. But the Lings do manage to get in and do manage to do a little bit of harassment, just be a little bit of a nuisance before getting on out of there. Yeah, he was getting ready for an attack, but he decides against it for right now. He wants to make it a decisive kill rather than just a little bit of extra damage. So he's just going to go straight into Spire Tech, as well as a Banshee or Baneling Nest. So from here, Rogue is still only on 3 bases, but it looks like he is getting ready to take the gold hatch, or was ready to take it. As we do see time just trying to move in here. The creep is safer right now. I don't think he has a scan available, but there's not that many Lings. Rogue has actually spent so much on tech that he doesn't have a lot of army available to him. That means the Liberator will be able to make its way in. Gets a queen kill, I think. Actually, this is pretty good bits of damage for time. But now here come the Mutalisks, and they have a lot of room to kind of work around. A lot of dead space near that main. As time establishes his 3rd base. Looks like he's going to push back some of the creep. Rogue trying to rely on just a couple of Ravagers and Roaches. And while they will do well for right now, since there's no upgrades available, as time goes on, those couple of roaches are really not going to be super worth it. Finding a good angle here, trading out some of those lings as the mutas make their way to the main. We'll start to get 6 workers here. The Marines are in position, so this will get semi-deflected, but not after 10 SCVs have been killed. Even more in the third base as well, getting some fresh mules right there. Honestly, Time had a wonderful start, a wonderful little lead there with some of those small attacks, but now he is bleeding out units. Oh my goodness, Rogue even just saying, I don't care about that missile turret. I'm just going to get as much damage done as possible. Time's starting to fall apart a little bit. Although, at this point, Rogue might have overextended. Yeah, he lost quite a few mutas right there. 5 in total, and that's never what you want to do, because at this point, you want to be just building up that muta ball in a way that you can safely go up to Hive Tech, since you are in a deceptively expensive army composition with Ling, Bane, Muta. So now Time has started to turtle up quite a bit. He's got the siege tanks blocking his third base, but he is looking to take the gold, and that's really where the biggest point of contention, I feel, is going to be, as that is one of the quickest ways for Rogue to kind of close things out, as he is up. Not so much in terms of army supply, but he is up almost 40 to 50 supply in total here, looking to max out and go up to that hive, getting those additional hatches. Already has a macro hatch in the main, and with 92 workers, he can pretty much afford anything he wants. He is the trust fund baby at this point. Like Time did get caught out here, loses a couple of units, tries to trade out with some of those links, but that's going to leave a little opening for the mutas to actually get some nice little pickoffs. 5 SCVs have gone down. Mining has been deflected. Now Time trying to open up another avenue where he can defend this base, as it's really important to establish this right now. Yeah, one Sea Tank should be able to shut that down, as... Ooh, Time is going in for a big attack here. Rogue has to pull his army back to the creep. The mutas looking for an angle to get in here, but the Thor is right there. A small flank coming on through, and that's actually going to be enough to clean up quite a bit of Time's army. His supply absolutely plummeted right there. The thing is, he still has quite a few forces available to him. It's up to the mutas to delay this for as long as possible. It's actually not that much anti-air at all, so Time will have to retreat. Funnily enough, Rogue is being very cost efficient right now with these forces. Now going up to an ultra extend. He's got 32 more Banelings on the way. He is maxed out once again, and the mutas just never leaving well enough alone. Time is broke. So at this point. Rogue has taken full map control. Time can't afford to move out with small units anymore. He has to take a big sweeping engagement if he wants to come back in, but Rogue is not going to give him the opportunity to. He's going to crash his way in, and as these Banes roll on through his forces, the third base goes down. That is going to be it. So as things kind of start to power up here, we got that spawning pool on the way once again. This is... never mind. Time is just going to get the Reaper up for a little bit of scouting information. It looks like we actually don't see him scouting with that additional SCV this time. So if Rogue was to be going for something aggressive, he just wouldn't know in time. And, you know, this is the thing about Time, which is just hilarious. You don't think about it, but every single time I say Time, it sounds like a pun, because we're talking about Time, the player, and Time, the concept. I think it's like the fourth dimension. But as this Reaper does come in here, we'll try and get a little bit of damage done. And there are enough links for right now, and Rogue will be going for the more aggressive bottom third. So that's just going to allow him to spread that creep out and really try and take control of the map very quickly here. Now on this side, we do see our Terran player once again going for the greedy third base. He has been able to kind of get away with this quite a few times in this series, this being the third time that he's done it. So overall, it's just really good to get that little bit of extra economy up. As while it hasn't helped him in a couple of these games, it has made sure that Rogue can't kill him. And that's the best part. Alright, so now the Hellions are going to be able to make their way in here. We do have a fast stim behind this. Ooh, looks like the camera got a little wonky. The way we fix that, boom. Okay, it's not wonky, I am just blind. Now we do see the Hellions just kind of piling up here, as we do have plenty of Marines on the way. So the Hellions just going to be looking for an angle to make their way in. But if they can't find it, he wants to keep them alive, because his first attack is going to probably include them as Hellbats. Although, one thing I will say is that he is pretty late on his upgrades this time, because he's focusing quite heavily on getting army up and out. Yeah, in fact, you know, he is... actually, that's only his third racks. I thought he did have more. What does he have right now? Huh. Interesting. I could have sworn I saw him making 3 Marines at a time beforehand. Ah, well. The Hellions are going to rotate around. Once again, they're going to get deflected, as Rogue taking advantage of that early creep spread, closing out this wall so that there's nowhere for a siege tank to strike. And here we go. Time is ready to move. I don't know if that was spotted by Rogue, but he does seem to be in position already with these queens. Actually, one of them will go down, targeting the high energy one, so there's less transfuses available. A quick kill on the 4th is in order. In fact, it is a kill, not a cancel, so that is 300 minerals down the drain. Rogue has a pretty good concave, but once again, not wasting his transfuse energy on these lowly under queens. As we do see a small little run by going to be making its way in. Gets one SCV before getting deflected. Time is making a little bit of headway here. He's already cleared up all the creep on the high ground. But at this point, there are enough lings, there are enough queens to defend, so he doesn't really want to push his luck too far. He's going to settle for another Overlord and might just scan for the creep. There you have it. Slowing that down as much as humanly possible. The lift up, a little bit, not sloppy, but just a little bit late here. He will lose a few units, a few more units than he intended to. But we do see he is getting ready for his next strike at the top side of the map, since Rogue is trying to go for the safer 4th base now. So Rogue is starting to hit that 70 to 80 worker count, which is so powerful. Another kill here. I think Rogue is paying a little bit more attention to this attack up here. A good is actually going to force a lot of those mines to hit his own units. So a good little pull there. But there's not that much down here to defend the 3rd base, so 7 workers will go down. And up here at the top, those mines are actually still active and getting ready to fire again. So Time just putting on the pressure absolutely everywhere. Nice little pulls here. That Widow Mine got a little bit more done, but not really the best here, as Rogue will clean this out. He's getting ready for this force to move in. But Time is focusing most of his energy up here. Rogue is actually down in terms of that army supply. And this is where it starts to get really dangerous here. If Time keeps this aggression up, if he trades out efficiently, he should be feeling pretty good about his chances in this game. In fact, look at this. 10 more workers gonna go down. Rogue is hemorrhaging supply right now. Can Time keep it up is the big question. Take a look at the units lost tab here. Actually double the supply lost. So Time is really getting his money's worth here. Looks like Rogue wants to go for a big counterattack. But there are enough reinforcements to shut that down. Although, on the opposite side of this, Time gets his own attack shut down. Cheeky, cheeky Rogue. So now it is really vital for Rogue to keep the pressure up. He needs to stop these attacks as he is rebuilding here. He's going up to Hive and Lurker Den, and getting the Widow Mine drop is a very nice start. In fact, I think there was some decent connections on those Banelings as well, cleaning up quite a few of Time's units. At the end of the day, supplies are relatively equal. Time actually ahead in terms of that army. So it's going to come down to this big engagement right here, I feel, as there's not really enough to contest that planetary fortress. In fact, there's no Banelings whatsoever. A huge Widow Mine connection going to cancel a majority of them. And that is really, really bad for Rogue. He's gonna lose this base. While he has made his way in here, killing 10 SCVs, I just don't think this damage is sustainable. Oh, Time just walked into a bunch of Banelings there, though. The splits are pretty good. Question is there enough for Rogue to hold on? He has killed a lot of Time's economy, and Time is actually below 100 supply. The Queens should be enough to force this back. Wow. Like, I don't know what to say about that. A lot of those Banes connecting with the SCVs, while I thought that was pretty bad start for Rogue, at the end of the day, he might just be able to close things out right here, right now. That is a big if, however, since he did just throw away quite a few Lings to get into this base. In fact, he is just going to throw away absolutely everything here. He is still behind in terms of worker supply. He will be able to get a couple of fresh mules, which is already nice, and getting 8 additional SCV kills. The supplies are actually relatively equal for this stage of the game. Little Widow Mine drop going on down. That is dirty as all heck. I love it. So now we have lurkers entering the fray. It looks like Time may have forgotten his attack upgrades here as well. He will have +3 armor. Only just now his +2 attack finished. Now, in Time's credit, he does have his 4th and 5th base up and operational. He is remaking those SCVs, and he still has those mules to kind of fall back on. So if we take a look at that income advantage, it's actually not as in Rogue's favor as you might expect for this stage in the game. But now it's just a matter of Time not being able to attack into the lurkers, who will have +3 carapace very, very soon. I just want those banelings to go off so bad. And there they go. 6 more workers going down. Funnily enough, missile turret did reveal them, but not in time. As we do see Rogue going to come in for another big attack. He's going to try and clean up some of these reinforcements. So far, they are getting stopped at the ramp. The burrow going down, but in range of the missile turret. And he will get 9 more workers, which is very, very nice. But he's got to deal with this army of Time. Like, you can kill economy all day, but if your opponent has a bigger and better army, it's all for naught as these lurkers gonna make their way in. The repair should be good. A good concave as well. Gonna mitigate a lot of this damage. And he's gonna get rid of a lot of these lurkers, actually. That was expensive loss for Rogue. Yeah, 11 lurkers going down there. Now Time trying to make his way in. He has remade the lurker count, and that high ground should be a good vantage point for him. Looks like the action has shifted to the top side of the map. The Widowmine not being able to go off. That would have been hilarious if he would have been able to weaken a Viper. But here we go. The pre-split is pretty huge for Time. He's got another army at the top that has yet to engage in. Parasitic Bomb going to go down on all of this. The lurkers have burrowed as well. Banelings getting some decent connections here. At the end of the day, the concave is just a little bit too good for Time, and he will be able to survive. We now have a small attack wave looking to attack the bottom side, but that is not going to go off. And this opens up a little bit of an angle for Time to get a kill on this base, as there are no lurkers and the baneling count is relatively low right now. So he will be able to kill that off, but I don't think he should really push too much further forward here, as that would probably mean throwing away his units. Clearing up some of the creep on the top side, just making it easier to push in without Rogue having a vision of it. Rogue is just rebuilding here. 11 more Hydras. He's got to rebuild that lurker count, but take a look at that. He is mineral broke. As the addition of those additional bases and being equal on workers does mean that time is really making it difficult for him to remax each and every single time. Baneling's a little bit too far behind from this attack, so he will be able to get rid of a majority of those lings, but oh, the Widow Mines. So much friendly fire, taking down all of the medevacs on that side. And now this base will go down for Rogue, but Time will be able to get out of there, and he has two very scary armies for Rogue to contend with. I gotta say, Time is starting to run away with this a little bit here. If he can keep this damage up and keep Rogue from expanding, he should have this one in the bag. Gets one lurker, but that withering spikes does pull away from him. Like I say, the biggest thing for Time right now is that he is taking these engagements very cost effectively. These splits are absolutely fantastic for him. Although he did get cleaned up on this side, it looks like. But that doesn't really matter. He is up 30 army supply right now. And he is just continuously pushing, continuously adding on more planetaries, more orbitals all over the place. So his economy is absolutely head over tails. I don't know if that was a word or a phrase, but we'll go for it. As we do have the Marauders stimming their way in, getting rid of the rest of these lurkers. The Widowmine is actually doing good for once here. They've been a little bit traitorous in these games. But Time doesn't want to overextend here. He wants to get out of here with a majority of his forces that he has left. And he already has his next army back at home, ready to go. Rogue does have a vision of everything going on here, as we do have that changeling with the army. Lurker's getting picked off by the singles. And we do have Time rotating once again, looking for another big avenue to crush through his opponent. Rogue is set up beautifully defensively here. He has about 10 lurkers at the top, 4 more on the way. So Time, this is the point where you got to multitask. This is the point where you got to get those ghosts in there and get those snipes down. He does manage to get a couple off, which is fantastic. So Rogue has to be very careful here with how he attacks in. Time actually has enough army here to split up, as Rogue doesn't really have the ability to defend multiple angles here, but I do love the addition of that Nidus network, as he does have an Overlord in position ready to go. So he should be able to make his way into the main base relatively soon. If he can pull back Time's army, that's going to give him the time he needs to rebuild and max out once again. Because again, he has been respending his income very, very quickly here. He hasn't had the ability to do too much else, but hold that thought, as we do have the Vipers all going down here, dropping their blinding clouds, the Banelings in the nick of time, but they just don't do enough. There's no detection either, so the Widowmines will manage to crush through here. GG is called, and we have a tie series. A tied series and a match point for both sides here as we move on to Lightshade. Now, with everything left to play for, it comes down to just this best of one. I'm really excited to see what decides to happen here, because we kind of seen when Time does manage to play aggressively, when he is able to kind of get that early game damage in, then Rogue did have a lot of trouble to kind of stay even, stay equal. And that is one of the big things about the 3cc opening, is that that's really what you want to go for. You want to trade out constantly. You want to force your opponent to spend all his money on army rather than income, workers, and tech structures. So now we do see neither side really doing anything too crazy right now. We do have just the Reaper fast expand from Time. Once again, we'll have to see if he does decide to throw down that additional CC here in a little bit, but looks like for right now the plan is to just go up to factory tech. That's how the way you kind of know that is because he's got that Marine coming out, so he's saving the gas so that right after this Marine is finished, he can drop a reactor right there. But on the other side of things, Rogue is just building up that third base. He's got enough lings here to defend. He's been a fan of getting 6, which does mean that he doesn't want to lose any lings whatsoever. If you make 4 lings, you usually expect to lose 1, but with 6, you expect to lose none of them. And there we go. There's the third base coming on down after the factory. And yeah, just a very carbon copy of how this series has gone. Nice little pick off there. Funnily enough, there is no energy to replace it. It's very important to get that down to your third base as soon as humanly possible, especially as these Hellions are going to start making their way out. And it looks like it's going to be followed up with Banshees. I don't disagree with that. He did manage to get a little bit of damage with them, even though they were scouted on, I believe, Oxide. So, I'm not against it, definitely. Layer tech is on the way for Rogue. He will be getting those Evo Chambers, so he should be starting his upgrades a little bit quicker than Time. That's kind of one thing that we've noticed about Time, is that he has been kind of delaying his upgrades slightly just so that he can get these different little tech attacks out with the Banshees and the Hellions. Not the biggest of deals, I want to say, but overall, small things can add up, especially in these kind of series. Yeah, the second Banshee should be on the way. Once again, Rogue not really having too much information. He did manage to make his way in. Sees the third base and the cloak, though. So that tells him everything that he needs to. As we have the Queens getting ready in position. Even getting some additional Spore Crawlers here. He is giving a lot of respect to these Banshees. Like the Banshee's trying to go through the front here. They do manage to get the Queens out of position. The pull is in time. The Spore Crawler going to be enough to stop these Hellions in their tracks. So a good little move there from Rogue, saving what could have been disastrous for him. Texas as well, just looking for as much room to attack as possible, but only getting 3 drones for their trouble. You will be able to clean up some of that creep, which is always nice, because that means these Queens have to expend more energy, which means the next attack can be quite powerful. But here we go. The counterattack is there. Stim only just now completing. Actually, a really nice stack there from Time, so no damage taken. Yeah, look at that. Time actually still playing a perfect game right now, 0-0. Now we have the Mutas on the way, and that is all about to change, as those Mutas are going to be very annoying to deal with here if Time doesn't get a scout on them. Marines, good pre-split here, trying to use the Lings to get some friendly fire damage, but so far so good. Time not really taking a lot here, and he does trade out. And that's the thing about Lingbane Muta. You are consistently remaking those units, so you gotta find room to kind of build everything else, including your infestation pit, going up to hive, upgrades. So all Time wants to do is consistently trade. He needs to get better ones than that, but that's kind of the general gist of the situation here. His economy is pretty good right now, up to 68 workers plus those additional mules. As the Muta's going to be making their way in, they have revealed themselves. The missile turrets should be in time. And indeed, they are just barely not, as 2 SCVs will go down. And yeah, now Rogue is just really going to be looking to take map control with these Mutas, halt the 4th base for as long as possible, and really just be a nuisance here as he builds up that Baneling count. If Time decides to give him a little bit too much of himself, then he will be able to get that infestation pit out without contention and go straight up to hive. So that's something you really have to be careful for. Just like you have to be really careful with those Widow Mines. Yeah, 3 Muta kills. Nice. That's a nice little pickoff right there. That's going to slow down what these Mutas can do, as you need an observer at this point, since we have just an absolute minefield out for Time all over the place. Here we go. Time going to be coming in here. Supplies are equal. 111 to 98, though, in terms of that army supply. The Hellbats have been brought in to soak up some of that damage. A couple of good connections on those Banes. Going to take out the first force. Now it's time, actually losing quite a bit of supply here, down to 177. The Banelings rolling on in to clean up a little bit more. And while Time holds the top of the ramp, he's not really able to make a lot of headway right now. I like the Banshees, though, trying to get what they can, but they might have gone a little bit too far forward, as one of them does get taken down. Big counterattack getting ready, but unfortunately for Rogue, he decides against it. Instead, bringing the Mutas in to do what they do best. Very nice connection right there on that Widowmine, getting 18 kills. Gonna shut that down as the Thor gets a couple of nice connections off on Rogue's Mutalisks. Both sides are maxed out once again, and Time is not letting this location go, but he keeps taking Baneling hits like that, and he's gonna be in a world of trouble. Kept a lot of the Marines too far forward right there, so he will lose quite a few of them, but he still has quite a few forces available. This pre-split is good, and as Rogue comes in here with these Banelings, he is trading them out, but there is still more Terran. Time is going to use this opportunity to bring the reinforcements across. We see that little trickle of blue moving in. The Mutas doing what they can, but the Thors do have to get out of there. And Rogue holds on for another few minutes. In fact, he's just going to say, I don't want to give you any time to repair. I want to attack. And as I say that, he decides, no, in fact, he does not want to attack. Because he has absolutely no Banelings available to him. Gonna make his way in here. He does manage to catch the army. The Widowmines, though, doing what they can to hold on. Rogue, not wanting to overextend, will retreat for the meantime here. He didn't actually use any Banelings with that attack, which is why he didn't manage to make as much headway. Now, as both sides max out once again, Rogue just looking for another way in. He does manage to evade the army, but again, Time is just a little bit too quick. No pun intended there either. Everything's a pun with him. But yeah, he does manage to find a little bit of an angle right here, but the Banelings are in position to shut this down. A couple of Marauders are left. They might be able to get a kill here as Time gonna look for a killing blow here. He doesn't have a lot of Marauders available to him. And these Ultras have Carapace. I say these guys have both been maxed out for a while here. The hotbox is good from Rogue, so he won't really take too much damage from those Widowmines. And in fact, I think once again the Widowmines showing their traitorous colors, as we do have another big attack here. The Banelings looking for the planetary. They will find it. And the Ultralisks, they will go down. That is expensive, but there's not that much anti-air left for Time. He's running out of Marines. He's running out of medevacs. And honestly, he's running out of himself. As the muta's coming on in, this might be the last big huzzah here. I think Rogue is just barely breaking through here as time down half the army supply. He is down so many bases at this point. And while the Widowmines are doing what they can, they are pretty good, but it's just not enough. A maxed out Zerg looking for the GG. Nice snipes, though. Gotta give him that. Ultras making their way in, and they are just starting to claw through this army. The Widowmine does get one down, but that is it. GG is called, and Rogue will take the series 3-0.